of rejoicing that will be when we all see Jesus. We'll sing and shout the victory. When you sing that song from now on, I want you to be thinking about how many other people that you've never met in the world. When we all get to heaven, it's going to be a lot of folks. And move this stuff over here and y'all can sit. So good to be here with you. We didn't come alone. Whoa, that's good. There you go. This is a visitor. I opened my computer bag this morning down here on the front row, and a grasshopper jumped out. So anyone that's wanting to start a Southwest Oklahoma grasshopper population, here's one with only one leg left, but he's alive, and we have a plague. We were spraying grasshoppers until 10 o'clock Friday night, no, it's terrible. It's a plague. I mean, Pharaoh, he had it bad when Moses struck him. It's good to be here. I mentioned in the earlier worship period that you've had quite the faces change since we've been here, and not just a face change, a faces change. And the TC principle has kicked in really strongly here, that things change, and you've moved from the 2.5 decades that you've been associated with Operation Ecuador, from an area that's known for retirement to having also lots of families and so forth, and the church is showing that. I go back and think about JB and Patsy Tarr and how they kind of first connected us with you as they came and began serving as an elder, and of course both passed now. Cleo Dreves, that was in southwestern Oklahoma when I was growing up. What did she live to be, 101? Something like that, and what a blessing she was to lots of lives. So it's been a great experience. We always enjoy coming by and visiting, and thankful for Jeff offering to let us speak today from the pulpit and this class time. Of course, the Snyders were in Ecuador for 11 or 12 years, and got a children's home up and running, and we really appreciate them. Kevin, their son, is here this morning. He was down there as an aimer for most only came for 1.5 years. I think he stayed 4. We had to tell him it's time to leave.
See, it was only 1.5 years. It just felt like 4 you guys. No, I stayed long.
He and his brother Justin both were a blessing, and I think you both of you stayed a little longer than usual, but we liked having you, except the food bill was high. We never seen boys eat like that. What can we tell you about Ecuador in a short time? What began as a church plant in northern Quito, Ecuador, grew into a ministry of training men and women in ministry, and now we're looking at 280 some odd that have gone out from the halls of Ecuador. We're in our 36th year. That gave rise to being able to do church plants with national speakers. So we have done and are involved in church plants where we would target areas that either didn't have a congregation of Churches of Christ, or just a real small struggling group in a heavily populated area. So that's not just in Ecuador, but in Colombia and Peru and Bolivia. God's blessed greatly. Toward the end of the 90s, we were able to get a camp began there, and that camp has blessed lots and lots of people, just tremendously so. Then we began a children's home in the early part of this century, And the Snyders came down and literally broke ground to get that up and going, and what a blessing it has been to a lot of children. We continue to grow ministries. We have a campus ministry now that serves some 100,000 people, our young people in the Quito area. It's just an amazing ministry. We're excited about how that's going to go. I'm sure a lot of you went to Bible chairs, the dinosaur word, I guess, student centers in any of the state colleges. And I know that was a blessing to me, just have good Christian fellowship with Christians, meet some pretty girls. Of course, I didn't look at any of them, Charla. And good opportunities for knowing Christians from other parts. But so a campus ministry is super important. We're going to show a video. It's going to wrap up 35 years of ministry. It's going to show you some of the development. It's only about 6 minutes long. So if we can show that, if any lights, do we need to turn the lights off? Will that help? Okay, let's watch this and then we'll keep going. Somewhere there. There was life before 2000. I watch young people, high school and college age, think, you mean since 1989? What was going on? Well, you know, my day yesterday kind of started out like this. I went into Walmart and thought, I'm going to grab a couple of sandwiches from the deli for James and I on the road. Charla already had hers, and something for her. And so I grabbed those sandwiches and some bananas. I do everything Charla tells me to. And checked out. Got down the road, and there were the bananas, but the sandwiches, I guess somebody else picked up on the rack. Well, you know what? I'm going to let you work on that, and I'm going to just wing this. I'm sure you know your system, so you can keep trying. All right, so we go down with 5 families in 1989, and I'm not remembering exactly when this congregation came on board. I'm thinking around the year 2000 or so. And you've been a great participant in funding the School of Bible. So we try to keep around 40 to 45 students full-time on site, and then there's an online program that triples that number easily all the time of people who are taking 1 or 2 courses at a time. But most of our population of students comes from what we call the Pacto Andino, which is Venezuela down to Bolivia, those countries that share that commonness of origin. It was actually planned, Simón Bolívar and Antonio José de Sucre, they planned to do something like what was happening here in the United States back in that day, at that same time. And so they were trying to get that going and make a country out of the upper part of South America. And it just didn't happen. One of them died from tuberculosis. The other was assassinated. And so it just kind of ruined that plan, and it became divided like it is even to today. But those countries share a commonness. When we were looking at going to South America, we literally looked from Portuguese Actually, well, okay, I'm gonna keep talking. But I had been told before I went on this journey to look at different countries that Ecuador was probably the most receptive country in all of South America. And so when I got there and worked in a campaign and got to know people and traveled in a bus the length and breadth of Ecuador, I came back and told Charlotte, I said, this is where we want to go. And God's blessed that. It's a small country. It's a lot in one package. From jungle to coast. We lived in the mountains. Those of you who have visited understand that we kind of have an eternal springtime there. We're right on the equator, so it's about 50 degrees when you get up in the morning, and it gets maybe up to 70 during the day, and that's 24 months out of the year. So you kind of get used to that pretty quickly. Makes hot summers in Oklahoma and cold winters and windy cold winters not so enjoyable. But God's blessed us as we've watched the church grow. The church in the northern part of Quito began from scratch, as we would say, and a few families that were known to be in a downtown congregation, which wasn't all that big, but it was downtown colonial Quito. They came and began worshiping with us. That congregation, at this very same hour of the day, are meeting probably with 400 people. And someone would say, well, you know, could it not be bigger in these years that have passed? And it could be. Since 2016, they've been working with their own eldership, and they've had some growth challenges, and any church is going to have that. But the good thing is that from north to south, you're talking about 30 plus miles of city that runs from north to south, and then there are two suburbs that go out to the east. And so you're talking about 2 million people, which is one of the smaller capital cities in South America, really. But what we've seen take place is from that church plant that began in 1989, there have been several congregations that have started, and the last count was about 10 in the Metroplex. So just by nature of itself, from the distance from the north to the center of town, or from the south to the center of town, or from those suburbs to the east, it's been more practical to begin congregations out there. So families would just begin meeting, and so there are some nice congregations scattered all over. I would just point up the road here that you've had something similar happen. Of course, you guys and the area of Springfield are in one of the better, faster growing areas of our country, really. We went to school with Joe Bright, and he married Vicky. Some of you know Joe? Well, he preached at Sunset in Springfield for a good while, 20 years, 25. I used to eat breakfast with them before they were married, so that's how old we all are. Well, Joe's retired. Well, what the neat deal about this Sunset congregation, and they ought to be written up in the Christian Chronicle and publicized, because rather than building a bigger building, I don't know how many times, 3 at least, that they've peeled off approximately 100 members and a couple of elders and said, let's go out here to Nixa or someplace else and start a congregation, and spread out, and they have done that. Now Joe is an elder at one of those congregations that they started, and they are getting ready to do that very same thing, peel off 100 members and start another congregation somewhere else. And that's kind of what happened in Quito. But that's a scenario just not that far away from you guys. And If you know Joe and Vicky, they're special people. You're older than I am, though. I should say, document that. Okay, well, what are we going to do with these graduates? The Pueblo congregation has been our sponsor and the sponsor oversight of the School of Bible since its beginning. And they came to me and said, Kent, could we begin some church planting with the graduates? Is there be a way of using them? So we put together a plan to peel off, you might say, the cream of the crop of each graduation class, and put together teams of 2 or 3, or in one case even 5 families to go to other places. And some of these are, really sizable cities of 3-4 million people, like Guayaquil on the coast, or smaller places like Santo Domingo, only 500,000, etc. But there needed to be churches established. So we began doing that, and we made a plan of 10 years. And the reason for that is that we really believed and continue to believe that it becomes unhealthy for an international work to go on and on and on, sponsored by, supported by, and controlled by a North American church body. There are a lot of reasons for that. So we put together a 10-year plan that we would begin with these graduates. And they had the advantage. When I went to Ecuador, I didn't know Spanish. So I'm 35 years old, basically 2 years just dead in the water, you might say, just not really effective, trying to learn Spanish and being able to teach and preach in Spanish. So these guys hit the road. I mean, when they're unloading their U-Haul, they're making friends with their neighbors wherever they're moving in, and so they hit the road running. They know the culture, they know the people, in every way. They know the language, so they can begin quickly about ministry. And so when you get to year 9 and 10, we take away gradually the U.S. support, and those congregations are basically on their own after year 10. And it's been a really effective, not without problems by any means, but a very effective way. And it's kind of like kicking an 18 or 20-year-old out of the house. They're going to have some learning curve to their life. They may, bounce their bank account or whatever it is. They've got to be able to learn to be on their own. And churches are that way, but we all have to go through that growing period. The other flip side of that which is negative, is that if we continue to spoil, in a sense, by monetary involvement and even the control over those congregations, they're never really going to mature into the kind of congregation that's going to have longevity. So that's some missiology from us, and that's what we do. And the beautiful thing is, when people in Ecuador don't move around. People in South America don't move around like you and I do. I mean, we move all the time. People just changing addresses and moving from state to state. If these families are plugged in for 10 years into a community, they're probably going to stay there. They put down some roots. They develop some businesses. Their kids are 10 years older than they were when they went. They may be in college, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so these now unsupported ministers are part of the congregation that they've helped get up and going. Now, what's the reality in South America, in Latin America? You're not going to have a paid position to give to a preacher, or a youth minister, or any of the things that sometimes we think are necessary. That's just not the reality of the economy. And so we've got to think outside the box, or outside of our box, and look at the reality. And we teach this in the School of Bible, that you're not here to get a salary. You're not here to get a position in a pulpit somewhere. And so we practiced even among ourselves that the preaching was shared, the teaching was shared, ministry shared. We try to teach body involvement where everybody plugs in somewhere into church growth, be it from the teaching angle to the serving needs of the body. And you see a beautiful thing come about. It's just really what church life ought to be like. You never, down there, you never know really who's going to speak that day, because unless you're in on the programming and planning. We went into the bigger congregation where we worked for 16 years, kind of in a leadership position, and we sat down. We were visiting, and here was a guy got up to preach, and with my eyesight, I was trying to see him good. I said, "That's Kiko." And he got up and he was just one of the guys, one of the members. And I'm telling you, that Sunday sermon was one of the best sermons in Spanish that I'd ever heard. It was amazing how well he done. Now, you'd have to know Kiko to really appreciate what I'm saying. He was the kind of guy that was just so obnoxious you want to sock him sometimes. He had so much to change, so much to grow through. And it took a pretty girl and her being solid in the faith, and a lot of Christian fellowship and some family and some good teaching, and it was amazing what God did in his life. So those stories go on and on, but God continues to bless. And those churches that are planted, say out here in Puerto Viejo or Manta, they will by nature affect, we don't call them counties, say provinces, et cetera. And there'll be churches that begin 20 miles away or 40 miles away. And so those churches begin to feed and establish churches where they go. God's blessed a lot. One of the things that Charla would agree with greatly is that when we first went to Ecuador, we did a lot of traveling. Just, we had a list of all these churches, congregations that should be there or that were there. We found that some of them had disintegrated. Some of them had just vanished into the evangelical community, sadly to say. And yet then there were other churches that were just small and struggling, mostly for the lack of leadership. And continued training. They'd been begun, but just kind of abandoned. So that's one reason we started the School of Bible. And now that many of our graduates have just gone back home, they come to Quito, they study, and then they just go back home and they farm, or they're electricians or whatever, drive taxi cabs or whatever it is they do, but they've brought back that training to their local congregations. And now we're seeing a whole different scenario. Congregations that are growing, that have mature leadership, and that are blessing them. It's been inspiring. And one of the things that helped, and I don't know why this is so, y'all use the term here, shoot yourself in the foot. Sometimes our autonomy, and it's a biblical principle. I know it's right. I know it's good, but it can also shoot ourselves in the foot when we don't see and understand and have fellowship and even coordination with other congregations in our area, especially in our proximity. And a lot of times we have no idea what's going on just down the street, don't quite understand that. So we began off way early having national or regional conferences, women's, men's, youth, and trying to get congregations together and to come together. That's grown to the point that it became impossible to do national, so now it's only regional pretty much. The thing Charla began in Quito with women, it was national, now it's mostly regional, but they'll still have a good 400 or so women that'll come together for 2 or 3 days. And boy, Kevin, they can eat a lot. The men have to do the cooking, and so I learned that they have some good appetites. But anyway, what was I saying? Don't get off track, Kent, because at your age, you'll forget. Do we have it? No. What were you pointing at? Yeah. Oh. Okay. Well, anyway, these conferences have really blessed, and so they're having them on the coast, they're having them in the South, and one of the things we began as a School of Bible is a program called the PLM program, and that's taking the courses in the School of Bible to a congregational level. Actually, it's Joshua, our son, who has been director of the school, gave him that responsibility in 2014 after 20 some odd years of doing it. And he's now passed that on to the faculty. They're working as a team. And so they will coordinate in some area of the country, or even Colombia or Peru or Bolivia, to send one of the teachers, and I think this happens 4 times a year, to send one of the teachers to one of these areas. So there may be 4 of these going on at the same time. But during a break week, the teacher will go to Pereira, Colombia, or Cali, Colombia, and the congregations that are in that area will come together. So let's say Bella Vista would host this. So you would put out the word that this teacher's going to come and he's going to teach the book of Romans from Friday to Sunday, 20 plus hours of instruction. Are we up for this? 20 plus hours of instruction from Friday to Sunday. And so, number 1, it's hard on the teacher. Number 2, you got to have a real desire to sit 20 hours and get a full dose of the book of Romans or the book of Acts or the Gospels or Old Testament summary or whatever it is he's going to teach. And so in 4 times during the year that they go to this location, this church will host it. So they'll feed the people that come in. They'll either put them up in their houses or let them sleep on their benches. You guys had benches last time I was here. I'm just noticing this. That's good. Or you know, they just turn the church building, whatever it is, into just an active center and sleeping at night, folks all over the floor, and they'll stay there Friday and Saturday night and have that seminar 4 times a year, and then those people will get a certificate having completed 4 courses of the School of Bible in Quito. Those are always the basic courses of like what I'm saying. And I think that's one of the better things we're doing at a congregational level and really strengthening these congregations. It's exciting. And that hosting church just gets real excited about being able to do that. So we've done it in Bolivia, done it in Peru, Ecuador a lot, and including Colombia. Okay, you got it?
Our places tread, stretched on across
Yes.
your body crushed by human hands you formed from dust. How wonderful your mercy is, how awesome are your ways.
This construction took place in 94 and 5 to build this gymnasium-style church building. The old Colonial House is our office building. It was purchased in 92. As I'm looking at some of these guys are here in the States working now. New York, Abilene, Dallas-Fort Worth area. With patience for my learning curve. One of our graduates now teach in the nursing program at Harding University.
Wonderful, your mercy is.
This is the Cologne Church where we worked for 16 years. This was the original mother congregation, you might say. The vocational program is just partnering with a Votech school for a year. At night, they go to a Votech school and learn some kind of trade. The PLM program is what I've been telling you about. We take it to a congregational level. This is the campus ministry. It's called The Bridge. So our single students in the School of Bible mostly work in this ministry. Same age. And if you get online, you'll find some video stuff that we're putting out. In fact, quite a bit. These are little short lessons that try to get folks involved in our studies. This is where the camp began. Ulf and Margaret Howland helped get that going. That's Camp Bellevue. That's what it looks like now. We had, in October there, we had a meeting with as many folks that could come, and it numbered close to 1,400 people for a Sunday service under a tent out on their property. It is a great experience, really, really beautiful. This after-school program they have reaches out to kids. It's like Vacation Bible School, 2 or 3 hours a day for 10 months out of the year. This is the Kumani work out in the jungle northwest of Ecuador. We're taking a medical mission there in a month. If somebody wants to come, we still have room. So this was built up in the last 12 years to be really a nice compound. Takes good care of the North Americans that come down and do work with us. And there's being churches established along the river, the Cayapas River. That's our compound now. Your guys came down and helped replace that big roof right there. Brad? I'm anxious to see it. That's a big job. Medical missions are a great way to get into the communities and show that we care and love in the name of Jesus and open doors for the sharing of the gospel. Where are we at on our time? Can somebody tell me? How much more time do we have?
2 minutes.
2? Okay. That's good. You said that firmly. Authoritatively. Okay, so we will not show another video. At least not right now. And so this jungle ministry, and I'll just put out this plug for the fact that I did lose a couple of translators and a nurse recently. So we've got a group going down on the 29th of August to this jungle location, and we still have some room. We need translators, we need nurses. We're pretty good on docs, actually. We need baby holders, people that just know how to serve. When a woman comes, a young woman with 4, 5, 6, 7 children, we need to help facilitate her to be able to see the doctor. All kinds of ways to serve. If somebody's interested, talk to us, afterwards, we'd love to plug you in and take you down. We're going to have some guys that are, we have some men that's coming down and they're saying, you know, can we do something other than the medical mission? And I said, okay, and Chuck's on this. Chuck is going to spearhead this, Mark. So we're putting together a basic teeter-totter building plan. We're going to put up teeter-totters in several villages. So we're going to have a group of 5 guys or so that go out putting in teeter-totters. I loved teeter-tottering when I was growing up. And these kids don't do anything but kick balls in the mud, you know. And so we're going to put up some basic teeter-totters they can't destroy and see what happens. It's going to be fun to see that happen along with the medical program. We usually take down 35 to 40 North Americans and serve somewhere around 1,200 people in a 5-day period of time. It'll change your life. Anybody that's gone wants to go back as soon as they can, and some people come every year. We have grandmas that have made it their thing. When they get it, they take every one by one, all of their grandchildren, bring them on a medical mission. And the highlight a couple of years ago, for me anyway, was a woman from Shawnee who works as a translator every year. She's coming again. She is 80 now. She would not want me to tell you that. So she's coming down again in end of August. And so she's translated all these years, and every year she'd try to bring down one of her grandchildren, or sometimes more than one. Well, her granddaughter went through nursing school and became an RN, and so the highlight 2 years ago was her translating for her granddaughter, seeing patients. I thought, this is marvelous. Dana, yeah, from the Shawnee congregation. Any questions? Maybe a minute. Anything you'd like to ask? The AIM program. Well, did it help in the beginning years? A whole lot. It caused me to lose some hair. But other than that, it was a great crank start for the ministry. But when we started bringing in students for the school in '97, I saw it kind of conflicting with that program. So we phased out the AIM program. But we had 40 AIM students in 7 years come through that Charlotte and I helped. I could tell you some stories about these Snyder boys, but we don't have time. That we coordinated, and it was fun. And some of them are really mover shakers in the ministry of Churches of Christ now, many of them, and we're thankful for that. Really a quick deal on Ecuador. You might have heard there's some turbulence, or has been. We did have some foolishness that went on some years ago in the last administration of presidential administration, and basically he let down the borders. I'm talking about Ecuador. Let down control of the borders, and we had an infiltration of riffraff from Colombia and Peru, drug trafficking that is always going to be there, but it increased a lot, and that gave birth to some gang violence, et cetera, et cetera. And so we didn't even go to the jungle area for 2 years because it was just so removed from police presence, et cetera. So we had to pull back from that. We got a new president in a year and a half ago. He's aligning himself strongly with the U.S., and I think we're even going to get an Air Force base back there on the coast of Ecuador that will do surveillance missions over Peru and Colombia. That was a reality for some 15 years, and we lost it. But they've arrested thousands of people. There's a good control of what's going on. Is there some violence there? Yeah, you don't want to go certain places, but we avoid being in those coastal cities where most of that takes place. As long as there's drugs and money and drugs, there's going to be violence here and there, and it's just the nature of the beast of sin. And we've, I think, made some great stride in Ecuador on that end, and prayerfully that's also going to be taking place here in the United States in a continual way. So it's a better, safer, controlled country right now, and we don't have any fear at all about taking a North American group down there, as long as we avoid, especially a couple of places, port type city locations, and we don't go close to those. So thank you for letting us be here. Ladies, if you have a question for Charla, she's here with me today. Last time we came, it was just James and I. So we're thankful she's with us. And it's an honor to be here. God bless you.